get this all working. So let me see. So I need to share the entire screen. And there we go. So you are seeing that screen. So let me get the slideshow started and we'll get underway with the session. When the slides want to load, there you go. So hello everyone. Great to see so many here, and we'll see how many turn up throughout the session. For those who don't know me, my name is Mark Jones. I'll introduce myself a bit more in just a second. But again, just to very quickly know for those who do join, there is a raffle for the session. If you want to take part in that, it is at the link posted at the very top of the page, and we'll be running the giveaway raffle at the end. So there's plenty of time to sign up for this session. But I want to thank all of the amazing sponsors for this event. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do this event here today. So we do want to say a big thank you to them, and you can see all of the amazing sponsors that have sponsored this event on this page here. But just to introduce myself a little bit, as I said, my name is Mark. For those who don't know me, I am a Salesforce consultant working with Cloud Galacticos based out of the UK. I've been in the ecosystem since 2016. So I've got well over 5 years of experience in Salesforce. Myself, I'm a 4-time certified Salesforce professional. I'm a 5-star ranger with the new ranks coming out. Hopefully be all-star by the end of the year. I'm co-lead the Newcastle upon Tyne user group based out of the UK. I am also launching a community conference this year as well in automation dreaming. And just to kind of wrap up myself, I will be a speaker at Dreamforce this year. I'll be speaking on Flow, sort of related to this session, and also related to my session a little bit later on today as well, and also mentor through the Trailblazers and Supermoms program. So there's quite a bit of involvement in the community. But really what we're here for today, and just say hello to everyone else who's joined us. So we've got a few more faces who've come in since we started. The agenda for today is going to be relatively simple. So this session is Orchestrator or Subflows, and the whole purpose of this session is to give a bit of an overview of Flow Orchestrator and to show a demo of Orchestrator in action, along with a demo of how you can essentially use a screen flow and subflows to replicate Orchestrator a little bit. And we'll get onto that a little bit as to why that might be a solution you would want or need a little bit just before we get into the demo. But how the session is going to be broken down is fairly simple. There's going to be an overview of some tools, overview of the tools. So we're going to explain a bit about Orchestrator, and I'm going to explain a little bit about Subflows, just in case anybody here doesn't know what Subflows really are. Going to give a very brief overview of the use case, and then we'll have the demo that you'll see, which showcases both the orchestration in action and the screen flow solution in action as well. So you'll get to see a demo. But just to kind of peel off a little bit of a band-aid on that, we're not going to see the actual flows getting built. This set, we're going to see the solution in action, but we're not going to see the flows getting built. I will show you the back end of the flow so you can actually see what's going on, but we won't actually be building the flows in this session live. Didn't think there was enough time to really deliver this content and also build the flows at the same time. So just to go into our next bit, I do have a Slido poll, which would be really great if you could take in. There's going to be 2 very quick polls. So if you hop on to slido.com, and if you put in the number I'm typing into the chat, that's also displayed on screen. If I can actually find my hashtag, there you go. And we've got, and I'll give it a second or two that some people join. And basically, what the first questions I'm going to be asking here is essentially like, how new are you to Flow, and also have you used Orchestrator? So I'd love it if you would take the very brief moment just to kind of hop on there and to vote. So we've got some votes coming in. It's great. So we've got some just getting started, some who know enough. I'll give a few more seconds because we know we've got 15 in the session now, and we've got 4 responses. So I'll give another second or two to allow a few more people to respond if they want to. And I find this is a good baseline to help understand kind of what audience we are looking at today. And I see Rohan in the chat. Hey, Rohan. So I'll give it another second or two. Don't want to leave this lingering too long, so we can get into the meat material. So really, it's looking like the majority of people who are here today are new to Flow, which is great. So this session will possibly be a little more advanced. It's probably more towards intermediate level stuff. However, you should still get some really good nuggets out of this session here. So let's move straight on to into our second poll. Go here. There we go. And the second poll is from on exactly the same link, which is have you used Orchestrator yet? And I'm going to guess, judging from how the majority had said they were new to Flow, I'm going to guess the majority is going to also say they've not used Orchestrator yet. So I'll give another couple of seconds, let people respond. Okay. So it looks like the majority of those who are responding have not used Orchestrator before. So again, as I said, we're not going to be building the flows live in this session, but I am going to show you the back end so you can actually see the flow in question that's being used. So that's really interesting to see. And so let's move on, and we'll continue on with the session. There should be time for Q&A at the end. That's my hope. So we'll see how that goes, and but let's move on into going over the tools that we're going to be using for the demos here. So if I come back, here we go. So hopefully you can see the screen all right. If you can't, maybe it might be worth putting it into full screen. You don't necessarily need to read all the stuff on the screen. This is some notes, and this will be available on the recording as well, so you should be able to see all of that in there as well. So Flow Orchestrator, to give a bit of an overview of that. Flow Orchestrator, it's a multi-step, multi-user tool that's built within the Flow Builder tooling solutions. And what you can do with that is you can assign multiple steps, but I'll cover that in just a second. Orgs get 600 free runs of Orchestrator a year, and then after that, it is a costed basis. My current understanding of that is it's $1 per run. That's the cost I've seen consistently across the community. But that doesn't. But my advice would be, if you are interested in Orchestrator and you're unsure about the pricing, get in touch with your account executive, and they should be able to give you the most up-to-date costings for that. However, on a side note, orchestration runs are completely free inside of sandboxes and DevOrgs, to the best of my knowledge. They certainly are in DevOrgs. I believe they are in sandboxes as well. So if you're building a solution via Orchestrator, you should be able to build that and test that as much as you need, as much as you like, inside of a sandbox or a DevOrg at no charge, which is really helpful for this. Just for clarity, when we talk about run, an orchestration run is when a orchestration fires. This is a slight challenge with Orchestrator, because what it means is that anytime a orchestration run begins, it counts as the run. So even if you don't complete all of the steps involved in it, it still counts as a run, which goes against those 600 free runs per year, and also the chargeable runs if you're in the chargeable realm for that. But what orchestration is broken down into is stages and steps. So you group all of the relevant tasks inside of a stage via steps. So you have stage will hold your steps, and steps can be assigned to users, groups, or queues in Orchestrator. And steps are either in two forms. They're either what we call an interactive step or a background step. A background step is an auto-launched flow, and an interactive step is a screen flow. And steps are completed via the work guide component, which is a component that you can add onto a Lightning record page via Lightning App Builder. There is a link on the screen. I'll look to share these links as well. But if you go onto Salesforce Bench, just type in Orchestrator, you'll find this post there as well, which has a bit more information about Orchestrator as well. Now, Subflows. For those who are new to Flow, you might not have really experimented too much with Subflows yet. But for those who are a bit more experienced in the call, you've probably experimented with Subflows. What a subflow really is, it's a means of creating a flow that you can connect to another flow. So essentially you'll have, say, for example, a screen flow, and then you'll have a subflow, which will be, generally speaking, either a screen or an auto-launch flow that you'll run. You add into that main flow that you have. I tend to refer to a flow I'm using subflows as a governing flow. So like a flow that will control an overall business process. And then I'll add subflows in to do those tasks, need separate tasks if I need to. There is no additional cost for subflows, which is fantastic. I mentioned before there about screen and auto launch flows. Generally speaking, you'd be working with screen and auto launch flows as subflows for the most part in Flow. Or at least that's been my experience in the last 4 years of using Flow. Subflows can be run based on an outcome. So if you have a decision element, you can decide to run a subflow based on one of the outcomes in that decision element. You can have multiple subflows inside of the same flow, and you can even have one subflow run after the other until you're done. The issue with that would be if you need to pass the values back into the main flow, because you can't do that with a subflow. You would have to do that in a different manner. You can, however, pass values into a subflow via output variables, which we're not going to go into variables today as such, but you can pass values into subflows via an output. Daisy chaining subflows might be needed as well. This is where I was getting at with when I said you can't pass values back into your main flow from a subflow. So if you need to pass variables like down a chain from one subflow to another, you could just do an approach where you have your main flow, then you have a subflow, and your subflow launches another subflow, and so on and so forth until you've done all of the subflows in that demo, in that solution. And as well, subflows can technically be assigned as well. It's not in the same way as Orchestrator, but that is actually what the base of this demo is, to show you how you can really see kind of almost hack an assignment of, or should we use a different word for assignment? So as an element, you can always hack making sure a specific user uses a subflow. For more on that, there was a really good blog on Salesforce Flowsome. Again, I can look at sharing these links in the chat once I've stopped sharing my screen, and by Melody Lou, which is just literally about how to use a subflow. Okay, so with that, let's move on into looking at what's involved in the demo, and then we're going to get actually into the demo, which is going to be great. So in terms of just to kind of encourage people to get involved, I'd love to hear any questions in the chat. I guess those would come from the demo. Again, sign up for the raffle. The link for that is at the very top of the chat here in this page. And we've already done the polls, so we don't necessarily need to cover that too much. And so the demo. So the demo here is going to be in an org that I've built, and we are going to be working with the use case of a user who is in an org and they submit holiday requests inside of their Salesforce org. So they will create a holiday request which goes against a holiday allowance. Their manager will then make a decision whether to approve it or reject it. And once the decision's been made, the holiday request will be updated. And if the holiday request is approved, if the holiday request is approved, then what we can do is, sorry about that. Yeah, it's pop on my screen. Yeah, and so if the holiday request is approved, the balance will be updated on the holiday allowance. So what's inside this demo? So in the demo, we've got two custom objects we'll be working with: the holiday allowance and the holiday requests. We've got five flows, including the orchestration flow, the governing screen flow, and then 3 flows which are used in both of these flows, essentially. One to submit the leave request, one that makes the leave request, which is an auto launch flow, and a decision notification as well. So that's all that. So that's what's inside of the demo here, and we are going to move into the demo now. So let me just shift screens over. Make sure I've got my slides right. I do. So we're going to now shift into the demo. So here we are inside of Salesforce, and you can see here that we've got the holiday allowance. The holiday allowance in this case is for a member of staff and a user who given the fictitious name of Catherine Gatsby. And you can see here, it's a relatively primitive build, but what we've got here is you've got the name of the staff member, the line manager, the start and end date of the allowance, and how many days are allowed, how many days have been requested, and how many days have been approved. And then the balance of the days remaining. So we can see here that Catherine's had 3 days approved. They've requested 7. They've requested 7, but they've had 3 approved. And because of that, there was 25 days remaining. So with that, that's the base of it, and then Catherine will create a holiday request. But before we actually do the demo in that sense and actually populate a record and show you how it works, let me show you the flows. So here, and let me just see if I don't think, unfortunately, I can't make this any bigger, so hopefully this is okay to see. But this is Orchestrator. And you can see here, this is a step. If I go into the start element and click on here, you'll see here it's tied to the holiday request object. It is run when a record is created or updated, and it's run when the request status is pending and the demo scenario equals Orchestrator. That pick list there for the demo scenario is there for this demo only. To decide whether or not which flow to fire, whether it fires the orchestration or whether it fires the screen flow. So that is there just as a step, just to prevent orchestrator from running when it doesn't need to. In here, we've got say two stages which are relatively simple. We've got the interactive step, which is a confirm request, and we can see here this is just a screen flow in here. And it opens up the guided process screen flow, which I'll show you in a second. The next step is a submit approval request, and this passes the record ID into the background step here. The final step is the interactive step, which is the make a request decision. And what that does is it passes the ID in there, so it appears on the record page for Orchestrator. So when you see an Orchestrator specify a record page, this is asking you where should this step appear inside of Salesforce. So what record page should appear And in this case, it is the record page associated with the record ID, so it appears on the same page as the holiday request. And as you can see here on the side, you can see that we have the user resource, and this is who we assign it to. And if I was to click on the assign type here, you will see we've got the option to do user, user resource, group, group resource, queue, or queue resource. The difference between a user and a user resource is if you had selected a user, you'll be able to look up a specific user and assign it to them. A resource inside of the assignee type allows you to select it dynamically, like we've done here by using the records IDs, and then went into the line manager field and then access the username ID. So basically we're saying it needs to go to the manager of the user. So that's Orchestrator, and it's a very, very brief whistle-stop overview of that, and a brief whistle-stop overview of this demo. And now I'll show you the screen flow. So here's the screen flow. If I was to go out into full screen, you'll see here it's a little bit, it looks a lot bigger than it actually is. If you're able to see that, because I know that is quite small for being at full screen, if you look at that, what you can see here is the dark blue sections are very, very minimal. There's only 4 dark blue, and which for the actions, and there's only 4 screens. Most of this is done via decision elements. So at the very top, I won't actually go into each bit, but at the very top, what this does is it'll hop into here and it'll just check whether it's pending or not. If it's pending, it'll go down the pending side of the flow. If it's not pending, it'll go down this side. And what happens on both sides is it'll check who the user is. So for example, we go to here, is the person accessing the flow the requester? And this is based on the user ID. We do have a formula because there was some character issues on there. If we go onto the formula for the requester ID, you can see here it's the 15 character version of the ID, because what the user global variable populace is the 18 character version. So we needed to trim it down to the 15 character version for this to work. What happens there is it goes into the screen flow, which is the screen flow which confirms the request decision, which if I just very quickly open that up, you can see here it's just literally a screen that just basically says yes, confirm, and then it has a decision after that which says if it's confirmed, continue on, finish this particular flow, so we'll move on to the next portion. Or if it's not confirmed, in this case it's a little bit cheaty, but in this case it goes back to the screen, because we're essentially going, you can't really continue if you haven't confirmed the leave request. It then goes down, it sets the confirmation value, it checks if a confirmation is being decided, and this is just a safety stopgap. This isn't necessarily needed, but it's a safety stopgap to just ensure that the request has been confirmed and submitted. So then it goes into the next subflow, which is the one that submits the request, which just passes the record ID in, and we can see here it just pulls in the record from the record ID, updates to submit it for approval, and the holiday request submission time is added from the start time, and then it amends the record. So that's a fairly simple flow. After I check the submission value, if it's again just as a safety gap, just to make sure that it has been submitted, to make sure nothing goes wrong, and then it goes to a screen which is updated. A notification is then sent to the manager via custom notification, which just basically just says, the user has submitted a request. And if I was to go to the template here, the request body. It just says the username has requested holiday. Click here to approve. So that just fires a notification to the manager. On the side where it is not pending, it checks the decision value, and it goes if the decision has been made. So you can see here, if it's been submitted for approval, it requires the decision. So then it checks if the current user accessing the flow is the manager. Again, same thing, trimming down the ID from 18 characters to 15. It then goes into the make request decision subflow, which again just has a get to pull in the values, sets the request status to be decision made. It then has a pick list here, which is pulled in from the field's beta component. And then it goes down, sets the decision time, amend decision, and then just has a screen just to confirm that a decision has been made. And then after that, nothing is needed. So, and what we've got here as well, as you can see on the two sides, we've got an error screen, which just basically says that you're not the person who was meant to be carrying out this step or stage of the flow, so you can't actually continue. And I will show you that in the demo. And then the final screen here is just no decision is required. So this is what you'll see if all the steps involved in this has been done. So this is the screen flow version. Okay, so let's go back into Salesforce. I'm going to pull up Catherine's instance, and we're going to have Catherine fill in a holiday request. So we're going to put in create a new request. I'm going to come into here. So the demo scenario here is going to be Orchestrator. We're going to have this filled in by Catherine. The line manager is me. And we're going to have the date time requested as today. The holiday card is the main one. And we're going to have that be, let's just say, a week. So the 1st of September. And the 1st of September starts one day. And we're just going to say, I would normally fill in a bit of a better description than this, but we're going to just say this is a test request. Fill that in. And you'll see here these fields have got no information in yet because it hasn't been submitted. So we're going to click on save. And with this is saved, we'll go over to a tab here called approval request. And you'll see here that there is a work guide here. So we'll demo the orchestration version first, and then we'll demo the screen version. So we've got the work guide here. We'll click on that to confirm that they are ready to proceed. And we'll click on confirm. And then you can see here that there's no items to be completed. What would happen would be that the user would have gotten an email to say a step has been assigned to you in inside of Orchestrator. But we're not going to show off the emails here. I'm going to click on got it for now. And you can see there's no work items being assigned. So now if I minimize and if I refresh this page, what you'll see is if I go back to the Approve Request tab, you'll see that the submission date time is updated and the request has been submitted for approval, which you might not be able to see it on the screen here, but that's what it says here. It says submitted for approval. So let's minimize this and let's go back to Catherine here. So I'm going to click on to related. I'm going to refresh this page because it's not appearing there yet. So I'll click on the related. And we can see here there's a holiday request in for the 1st of September. So I'm going to open that up. And I'm going to go to approval request. And you can see here that I've got my screen for the decision. So you can see here the decision has been made. That was done inside the flow to set that. I'm going to approve this holiday for this one. And I'm going to confirm the decision. And I'll say again, thank you for making a decision on this request. This will now be displayed on the record. We'll click on close. And again, no work item is completed. No work item is needed because it's been completed. So I'm going to click on got it. I'll refresh this page so you can see here that the approval request is now being approved. Over here, there is a date and time added. And if I go to the holiday request screen, you will see now that if I go, not the holiday request screen, if I go to the holiday allowance screen, you'll see now that the days requested has gone from 7 to 8, and the days approved has gone from 3 to 4, and the balance remaining has gone to 24. Okay, so that's the Orchestrator demo. And we're now going to go to the ScreenFlow demo. So let me again just go back to Catherine's page. And this demo for the ScreenFlow version, there'll be a bit of back and forth here between the pages because I want you to be able to see how it works in the ScreenFlow version. But I'm going to create a request as Catherine. Demo scenario, I'm going to say that's ScreenFlow. I'm going to set that to be me as the line manager. Holiday card for this one. And I'm going to say 30th of September for that one, just so there's different days in the list. And I'm going to have that be 1 and say another test request. And we're going to click on save. Now, if I go back to approval, the submission is pending. But you can see for Catherine here, it's that same screen. So I've used the exact same flows, and we're going to say have that one be confirmed. Before we do that, though, let me just minimize this, and I'm going to refresh this page so we get the flow in the list view. I'm going to go to the 30th of the 9th, and I'm going to go to the approval screen. And what you'll see here is you'll see an error message here which says you are not the same user that's requesting this annual leave. This flow cannot progress any further at this stage as the user requesting this leave must first submit it for approval. So this is just a screen with a display text element that I've added into a display text component I've added into the screen element. And you saw there when I had the decision. This is based on that decision where it says, is the user accessing this flow the same person who the request is for? If it's not, display this screen which says you can't actually progress. So now we've seen that's working. We're going to go back to Catherine. I'm going to click on confirm. I'm going to confirm this request. And you can see here in the message popped up saying the record's been successfully updated at this stage. So there's nothing else for you to do. The next stage is for your assigned line manager to review this request and make a decision. So now we're going to click on continue. And you should hopefully now be able to see that there's a different error message here. And this one just says you are not the manager of the user that is requesting this annual leave. This flow can't progress any further at the stage as the user who needs to complete the next task in this process must be the manager of the user requesting the leave. So basically what will happen here is when we go back to the Catherine's request as myself, as in here as the line manager, it will show you, it will actually give you the flow for the next stage. So let's minimize that and go back to this. And you can see here, there we go. So we've got the request status as a decision, and we're going to approve that as well. So we can do that in the same way as we did before. Exactly the same flows as we use in the orchestration. So I'm going to click on confirm decision, and then it just says, thank you for making a decision on this request. This will now be displayed on the record. I'm going to click on close, and you'll see here, there's this little message now that says a decision has been made for this request. Please consult the section shown below to see what decision that was made by the relevant request. So see the decision that was made. And you can see here, this also updated straight away. It didn't update straight away with Orchestrator, but it does here. So now if I go back to Catherine and refresh that page and go to approval, you'll see here, see a message and everything's like that. So that's a very simple method of using ScreenFlow and Subflows in a way to replace Orchestrator. So that's the demo, and hopefully that has helped a little bit. If we look at the holiday allowance here for Catherine, you'll see there as well, 9 days requested, 5 approved, and 23 are remaining. So everything's working as it should. So that's the use case and the demo. We are going to have some time for Q&A, and there should be plenty of time actually for Q&A as well. So I don't know if there's any questions in that anybody has. If they are, please do feel free to share them in the chat or in the Q&A. I'm going to have a quick look now, see if there's any questions in there. There's nothing in there at the moment, but please do feel free to share them in the chat there. And I'll begin to wrap up the formal bit, and then we can open that up for Q&A. So if we go to here, let me just go back to my slideshow. So just want to say a big thank you to everybody for coming, who's here. We are going to have some time for Q&A in just a second, as I mentioned. Please do feel free to come and find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. You can find me at This Is Mark Jones on either. And you can also find my blog on Medium, and it's called Ragamuffin Admin there. And just as a very subtle plug for a little bit later on in the day, if you're interested in Slack and Flow as well, I will be doing a session later on today, which is about Slack actions in Flow, which is supercharge Slack with Flow actions in Salesforce. So we're going to have that session a little bit later on. Now, right before we do Q&A, let me just very quickly again share the link for the form for the giveaway, and I'm going to open up that giveaway form. So if you just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to stop sharing my screen while I change over to the speaker URL. I'm going to share my screen. Let me just see if I can find that here. There we go. Okay, so before we do Q&A, if there's any questions that come through, I'm going to go through the raffle. So again, if you've filled in that form, you'll be entered into this raffle, and we are going to run that now, and we'll see who has won. So we just click on start and we'll run the raffle. And Lee has won. Is Lee here in this session? Yes, I think I see you in the list there, Lee. So Lee, you have won this giveaway. And what will happen now is that the team from Backstream will connect with you, and please feel free to grab a screenshot of that. I'm going to actually quickly grab a screenshot as well. There we go. And got that sort. So congratulations to Lee for winning that. You've won a $25 gift card, and so congratulations for that. I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to have a look at the Q&A and see what any questions has come through. And yeah, so Khatib has asked, for the development of a solution, will it be quicker using Orchestrator compared to ScreenFlow? To be honest, they're both probably about the same length of time, depending on your competency with building Flow. The thing with Orchestrator is all of your flows that you use inside of the Orchestrator will have to be pre-built before you include them inside of Orchestrator. So it'll probably take about the same length of time because you'll have to build each of your flows out that you're going to be using either as sub-flows in your screen flow or as steps in Orchestrator. So they will both be about the same. It'll be about the same length of time to build that approximately. Orchestrator might take a fraction, will possibly take a fraction longer because of the extra bits involved with assigning steps to, new resources or individual groups, queues, or users. I'm glad. So there you go. Thanks, Katie. If there's any more questions, please do feel free to pop them in the chat. The next session isn't due to start until about 9, for another 14 minutes. So we do have some time for questions and answers as well. And I will stick around. Make sure I stick around until as closest we can to the next session. So another questions coming to the chat. Okay. So Cash mentioned Miss Yorkshire priced up the 600 runs limit in case you know. So just to kind of clarify on that, I have not actually been given an exact pricing by an AE ever from that front. All the pricing I've seen have come from people from within the community. However, they've all said the same thing, which is that it's $1 per run after your 600 runs have completed. So I believe that would be accurate because that's been pretty consistent from the community. So $1 per run is the figure that I have had told to me multiple times. But again, best advice would be if you're unsure about using Orchestrator and you are concerned about the pricing, if you've got access to an AE, do get in touch with them and ask them the question, and they should hopefully be able to give you a price. I think you might be able to bulk buy them as well, but I'm not sure about that. There we go. Cool. Yeah, and no worries. Thank you, Akash. As I say as well, if there's any more questions, please still feel free to add them into the chat. We've got a bit of time between now and the next session. Okay. So we'll just have a look and see if there's any more questions coming through. If you do have any questions and they come to you, say even later in the day, I am on the Pack Dream and Slack as well. So if you're on there, do feel free to pop a question there. Either send me like a DM or something like that, or you can send me a DM on here or connect with me on social as well. And I'll be more than happy to take questions there as well. And I'll give it another minute or so for any questions that come, if there's any more that come through, because I don't want to leave this just as dead space for too long. So we'll give another minute or so for that. And if not, that means we can finish off the session, and we can then see what comes up. You might be able to go. There's some networking space and the expo rooms as well. Cash says I'm so easy to get hold of, and it's one of the things we're trying to have a consistent handle on social media. If you go to like LinkedIn, Twitter, trailblazers.me, and go, this is Mark Jones, you'll find me very easy. or if you ironically enough just Google Mark Jones Salesforce, I'm on like one of the first results, if not the first result at the moment. So fairly easy to find. Okay, so I'm just gonna have another look at the Q&A. Nothing else has come through. So I think what we might do is we might wrap up this a little bit earlier, and that'll give you some time in between now and the next session. But as I say, if you have any questions that you haven't thought of, please feel free just to give me a shout. I'll be here all day. Alternatively, say Slack or social media, and I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. So I just want to say, as we close, a big thank you to everybody for coming, and hopefully you enjoyed the rest of the day. And I might see you at the session this afternoon. If not, I will hopefully see you at some sessions during the day. So thank you.